Our next guest joins us as one of the speakers and folks involved in the IFA Plus Summit here, which is some fascinating things where they talk about the future is coming to Berlin. Well, the future is here in Berlin, and it's an exciting program of speakers that are really motivating a whole lot of people to get much more involved into tomorrow, if you will, with some of the things they're discussing. And our next guest, her speech is all about brain wearables, mind-blowing opportunities. She's Vice President of Product for Emotiv, Erica Warp. Erica, welcome into tomorrow. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Dave.
Glad to have you with us, and thank you for spending a few minutes with us, because we got to talk about, I'm catching you before your speech, as a matter of fact, later on, but what are you going to be talking about? And I promise not to tell anyone until your speech is finished so that we don't ruin any surprises.
Okay, no secrets blown.
Right. Plus, by the time we're recording this, it won't air for another week or so you'll be fine.
Okay.
You will have done your speech. So how was it? Fantastic.
It was the best speech ever.
It was the most amazing panel and so forth of the entire IFA Summit. But tell us about what are you sharing with us?
Yeah, I'll be talking about our work at Emotiv and brain-augmented technology.
Now that in and of itself, I think sounds scary to some people. Brain-augmented technology.
Well, I mean, we've been augmenting ourselves as humans for thousands of years,
or
really.
At least trying.
Well, yeah. I mean, starting off with, just physical tools that allowed us to do things that we can't with our natural capabilities. And over the last century, we've seen really a rise in cognitive augmentation. And part of this is the invention of machines that allow us to solve more problems, get more access to information, and even connect with each other.
Sort of like the computer.
The computer, yes,
One
exactly.
good example, I guess.
Yeah, and the computer and the smartphone and these devices are becoming more and more personal. So, what is the next step? And we think that one of the critical components of this will be connecting machines more to our biology. And the part of our biology that we most associate with ourselves as individuals is our brain. So, imagine what is possible if your computers didn't just listen to the types and clicks and swipes that you gave to, these machines in very discrete moments, but had this constant feed of your physical, emotional, and mental state.
Well,
what could be possible?
And a constant feed yet.
Well, yeah. I mean, think of all the information happening in your body, in your brain, right? And the output of that we deliver to machines is really very, very finite and discrete. It's very low bandwidth. But what if your emotions could be transmitted to these machines?
Wow.
How could they learn? How could they respond and integrate that information?
And right away, again, I'm hearing my listeners in my head, which I do all the time, even when I'm trying to sleep. But that's a whole other story. But I'm imagining folks are saying, would we want our emotions to be shared with a machine? Or other devices, maybe this whole Internet of Things? But then if we take it that step further, I'm thinking, absolutely. But give us some ideas as to how that can benefit us as humans.
Yeah, well, there's certainly a variety of applications that, opening up human brain data and making it easy and affordable to access, takes these devices outside of the medical and research context, which is where they've usually been. So we develop EEG devices, which measure voltage fluctuations.
Brain waves.
What's
actually happening up there, if anything. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, you don't want to just divulge your secret brain information without getting some good value back. So what are some of the things that you can do with this? So starting out, we can improve how we grow and strengthen our own brains, right? So there are applications in education and improving performance, basically tuning our minds to be in that optimal space where we're mentally aroused but not overly stressed, right? So using neurofeedback, which is basically representations of our brain in real time, we can change our environment to help reach our peak performance, or even teach us how to better self-regulate our own brains.
Now, of course, first thing that comes to mind there is, what about things like medical problems? What about Alzheimer's, what dementia issues, things like that? Do you foresee that brain wearables, and it would seem to me that they certainly would help us as we got older, or whatever the case, to maybe not encounter these issues? Or if we do, to sort of retrain our brain somehow or help?
Yeah, well, there's certainly great opportunities in the kind of brain training component, but we're really motivated by the opportunity that brain wearables presents around developing biomarkers for certain disorders and diseases of the nervous system.
Yes.
So being able to identify the onset of dementia or depression and allow treatment and intervention to happen at earlier stages would really significantly improve outcomes.
Yeah.
But we need to really understand human brains in order to do that.
Yeah, that's the first step.
Yeah,
And then how can we
yeah,
deal
and
with
so
it?
part of our goal as a company is to collect data from healthy individuals doing everyday activities so that we can better understand individual differences, how your brain may be different from my brain, and also how brains usually change throughout a lifetime. And once we have that foundation of knowledge, we can go in and better identify these changes that are associated and characteristic of certain disorders and diseases, and perhaps feed that information up to individuals or healthcare providers if they want that.
And especially to be able to get us then ultimately back to that normal that we've learned is normal or is not a problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things are on a spectrum, and as we get older, our brains do change, but there are certain ways that we can use this data to optimize our mental health, our ability to perform, to remember, to reduce stress. That's also something that we're very interested in.
I think that in and of itself would help so many of us, because everybody's stressed, especially these days. We're all going in 100 directions, and we don't have enough time to do everything. And whatever the case might be, our jobs, our families, whatever, there's stress, period, right?
Yeah, well, the World Health Organization has actually named stress as the health epidemic of the 21st century.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, the impression that you have is spot on, and it's, only going to increase, right? And so using, brain wearables gives individuals the opportunity to track their stress over time.
Wow.
And also to hone effective relaxation practices like meditation.
Gotcha. Now, Erica, you mentioned EEG earlier, and I understand there's also TDCS, which is, if I'm right, transcranial direct stimulation. So how do they differ? Is one just giving us a reading, and the other is because stimulation is somehow stimulating our brain in various ways?
Yeah, so the industry of neurotechnology has several components. We're on the measuring side, so trying to open up access to the measurement of human brain activity. And then, yes, there are other technologies that can stimulate the brain and directly, and, for example, to get your brain in that sweet spot for learning. Right. So the technologies can be complementary in that way, and I think it sort of points to the fact that we are able, with the sort of developments in neuroscience so far and advances in consumer electronics and machine learning, to have devices that can be worn by a broader population to really change how we grow our brain and use our brain and also experience the world. There's basically, these devices enable what's called brain-computer interface as well, which is using the brain to either actively control machines or passively through your emotions. So creating new virtual reality experiences that change based on your current emotional state, or being able to trigger certain controls. For example, like by the disabled individuals could control lights in their home or their music just by using their thoughts.
And see, that's the part I especially think is fascinating for you and Emotiv, to be working on these things that will truly help people who need that kind of assistance. And it's got to give you the warm fuzzies to learn more and more as we go, to say there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a freight train. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to think about how the technology can be used to improve our quality of life, right?
Wow. Well, continued good luck in your efforts and your research, and Emotiv.com for more info if you want to see what Erica and her team are up to, EMOTIV.com. And of course, we'll get you there when you hit us up at intotomorrow.com. You're a delight to chat with, and good luck with your speech. I mean, it was spectacular today. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best. And we look forward to connecting again, because there's so much more to learn and to share as you learn it. So it'll be awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Vice President of Product with Emotiv.com. We're back with more as Into Tomorrow continues from Berlin, Germany. I'm Dave Graveline at intotomorrow.com from Berlin. After this, don't go away.